All right. Why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
All right, thank you. Item 4, any opening remarks?
Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Garish, just quickly, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. We did have a situation at the site overnight. We did get the call early this morning from Bridgewater Police, and myself and Mr. Powers went on site, did an assessment of the grounds, assessment of the physical plant. I'm sure Alyssa will kind of report out in detail. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the Bridgewater Police and the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department for their quick response and their cooperation today to kind of walk us through some of the situations that we were dealing with early this morning. So thank you to them, and thank you to Alyssa, who I know she and I spoke this morning and has a little bit more detailed information to report out under new business later in the meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Item 5, approval of the June 9th SBC meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion. This is Lil. I'll make a motion to approve them with the changes that Joe DeZalio be removed, that John Feely comes under CHA, and a member from the community was also on the meeting, Donna Jewell.
I'll second that, Matt Rushton.
Any discussion? All right, let's take the roll.
John, if I could, this is Mike. I just want to make sure Michael was able to get that amendment.
That's why we record these meetings.
That's the secret.
I just wanted to check.
Josh will double check. I'll leave a question mark there. No worries.
All
I
right.
also have emailed him, Michael.
Oh, okay, great.
So
Thanks,
he
Will.
should, yeah, he should have that.
Okay.
Thank you. So we ready for the roll?
Oh, I'm sorry. I am bad, rusty. All right. Vote on the minutes as amended. Roll call. Lil,
Aye.
Matt,
Yes.
Mike Dolan,
Yes.
Mark Lindy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
John Garish,
Yes.
and Harsh.
Yes.
And Joe, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right. Thank you. Next item is the OPM update. Alyssa?
Okay, you'll have to give me sharing privileges. Screen share.
Man.
Uh-oh.
There you go, Alyssa.
Thank you. Alrighty. All right, so I'll just give a quick progress update. We're currently on schedule with one lost time incident. We're up to 71 safe work days now. We're continuing in the building with finishes, final painting, finishing the flooring, installing casework and tile. We're continuing ceiling grid and tile throughout, mostly just the ceiling grid in the corridors that's left. and then continuing to flood those ceilings with ceiling tile. We're finalizing window, curtain wall, skylight, and trim. Light fixtures are going in. That process is ongoing. We're continuing elevator wiring, controls wiring, and building out the electric room. Continuing site work with curbing, fencing, and sidewalks, and then continuing that playground equipment installation. We finally have permanent power as of last Thursday, June 16th. With that, we have testing and balancing beginning this week. Our first HVAC technicians will be on site this Friday. So I've been communicating that schedule with them. We also have commissioning meeting tomorrow, as well as our bi-weekly IT and communications meetings. We have the furniture install starting on July 18th. So that's coming quickly. And then we're just continuing our other moving meetings, furniture, purchase order releases for the small wares, and then just continuing those commissioning meetings. So just some progress photos. The exterior progress has been immense. Those of you who are able to come to the building committee tour on Friday at 3:30, I think you'll be quite impressed with what's going on. Landscaping continues throughout the site. I do have an update on the maintenance and new business today. So throughout the building, continuing, the ceiling. So this is the linear metal ceiling in the media center. And then the kitchen equipment has been installed. So this is the playground equipment at the pre-K, coming right along, looking great. And then again, continuing to build out those electric and IT rooms. This is the IT rack here. And then a picture of National Grid the day that they got us permanent power. So very big milestone for the project. And thank you to everyone who was involved with pushing them, communicating with them, as well as just reaching out to, state representative and getting us to this point. So that was a huge milestone achieved last week. So just going through, some of the site activities that are going on, just continuing the sidewalks on site. In a few weeks, they'll be continuing the wood deck with the decking, metal, and seating. Starting the wood doors. So those were shipped last week, and they're beginning to install them this week. And then installing toilet accessories and fire extinguisher cabinets. Continuing and finishing up the roof edge metals this week. And then systems is continuing to build up those electric rooms, putting in the classroom light fixtures and devices, and then continuing lighting in the cafeteria and quarters. For plumbing, we're continuing installing plumbing fixtures and finishes, piping the kitchen, and installing the sump pump. As for mechanical sub, just continuing HVAC controls wiring to get up to speed so we can start testing and balancing. As I said, startup begins this Friday. Continuing that baseboard panels at the cafeteria next week. As for the fire protection subcontractor, they're continuing placing heads in the ACT in the corridors. And then we're just continuing taping the skylights and other miscellaneous taping, and then continuing the drywall returns and taping at the storefronts. The terrazzo in the main lobby in the first floor corridors is ongoing. We have some temperature control for the humidity within the building for that work, and then continuing the terrazzo and the stair treads in the base. Waterproofing, we're continuing caulking interior and then caulking the sidewalks as needed. Avid Ironworks will be back this week to install that elevator grate. Chandler is continuing on the storefronts at the exterior and the interior. We will be testing the curtain wall next Friday. So we'll be sure to communicate those results to you, but just to make sure that we don't have moisture or water leaking into the building from the curtain walls. So that will be witnessed by Intertech, who we approved a few months ago, and also by the commissioning agent. New generation painting is continuing, finish paint in all areas of the building and touch up where needed. K&K again continues to install ceiling grid at the corridors, those metal linear ceilings that you saw, and then ACT panels throughout classrooms. Point interiors continuing wall tile and lobby wall tile, in the second floor tile, and then the stair to wall tile. We're continuing casework throughout the building, dropping in those sinks. If you remember in the last memo we sent, Bacon is working with Interbuild to get all of this work on site that has sinks needed for C of O. So those sinks need to be chlorinated in order to get our C of O. And so we had a large shipment of that casework arrive last week. So they're continuing to install that. So that's good news. As far as the rubber floor tiling, that continues to be installed as well in the A building, in the cafeteria and quarters. As well as site work is ongoing. We're prepping sidewalks, pouring sidewalks as we go, installing the playground and those details there, the runnels, trench drains, boulders, etc. So we're setting inspection ports at the parking areas. So we were hammer drilling last week. That is completed. So they're setting those so that way we can prepare for final paving. We're continuing to install that elevator. We are waiting on a POTS line from Verizon. They were on site about 3 times now, measuring, doing layout, and getting ready to install those POTS lines into the building. The fence and guardrail is ongoing, so that's supposed to begin next week in early July. As well as landscaping, we continue, Forte Landscaping is continuing the playground equipment at the K through 2 playground. And then as for landscaping, we're continuing to seed the fields. For specialties, we're installing the shades at the classrooms. And then for the last few items, we're installing stainless steel panels at the windows and continuing that gym floor installation, which will begin next week. As well as continuing fiber cement panels in the gym and then carpeting in a few weeks. Are there any questions on site activities? All right, so just to recap some of the schedule and milestones that we are tracking, we've secured permanent power on June 16th. That was last week, Thursday. Our startup and testing is beginning this Friday. We have the HVAC technicians scheduled, and we're tracking that substantial completion date for August 8th. We do have furniture installation beginning on July 18th. We expect that to take place for a few weeks. And then we'll do a punch list going through with the project manager from WB Mason, as well as the furniture consultant, just going around inspecting that furniture, making sure there's nothing missing. And then just taking account of if anything got damaged or scratched in transit. So that will be a very busy time installing and inspecting that furniture. We'll have the owner vendors come in shortly after that. So things like the phone systems that are going to be installed, we'll have them come in. We'll have interactive panels going up, any of the AV work. So we're continuing to track that. We've been having meetings with those vendors every other week. So just continuing to track. Now with permanent power, that's a big push to get these vendors in now that we have it. So the occupancy and move is scheduled for August 22nd. So that's when we'll have the moving company come and start moving all the boxes from the various locations. And then we have our tours planned on August 27th and for the taxpayer tour, and then the ribbon cutting on September 10th. So continuing to track that as well as the first day of school. All right, so our upcoming meetings, we have July 11th and August 8th planned. Again, if there are any hot items that come up, we will obviously reach out to the group and try and get something on the schedule if possible. Right now, we don't anticipate any, large change orders or anything like that. So just continuing on with our regular meeting times. And then just a budget update, continuing to track that contingency. Once I receive the final purchase orders from Kathy and Odalis, I will update all of those small wares that we purchased, and you'll see that reflected under the committed amount. But right now, we're just tracking the change orders that have hit the contingency. We're up to date with our propay. Currently, we have propay number 31 under review at the MSBA. We also submitted the latest change order log to them, so they're reviewing that now. And then, of course, we have a change order to present tonight that we will forward over to them if approved. So that's my update. I do have a couple items under new business following up from the last meeting, so we'll touch on that at that time.
So does anybody have any questions on the update so far? All right, I had a question, Alyssa. So on the scheduled milestones, the dates, the ranges that you have, it seems to all fit into the first day of school opening. Is there anything that you're aware of that is still at risk of not, I'm thinking of components or products that have to be, installed. Is there anything that hasn't been delivered or hasn't been confirmed is on schedule that you're tracking?
So right now, everything is scheduled to come in time for the opening. I think one of the latest things that we had was the Rulon panels, which are going to be installed in August. And that I mentioned in the memo would not inhibit C of O. So there's nothing impacting C of O right now that we are aware of. We do ask this question every week in our owners meetings with Bacon, just continuing to track, things like the millwork and in the doors that we knew were going to be late. But everything to this point that we've been tracking with Bacon, they've either gotten a delivery and ship date on it, or it's already on site. So permanent power is obviously the big push to get startup going. We've obviously had conversations with them on trying to get more technicians on site to lessen that timeline. So instead of having 2 technicians, could they get a third and potentially squeeze down some of that time? So they are working on requesting that and getting information over to us. They've been really great about keeping us up to date with various lead time items. So right now, there's nothing that's worrisome to us, but we're continuing to track and deal with things as they arise.
Okay, great. So on the schedule and milestone sheet, I don't see the C of O date, target date.
So that would be the August 8th date. So they're trying to get affidavits, final inspections, all of that would happen in that week leading up to the building being ready for its intended use.
Okay, so the city approval, the town approval
Yes.
is the same day as the substantial completion? That's how you're tracking that?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And then on the owner vendors installation, can you just highlight what that is? And are the vendors actually working for the owner?
Yes. So that's various things like Akers doing the interactive panels, Mattel, who's doing the phone systems, We have WB Mason, who's doing the furniture. We have Donegan Systems doing shelving in the building. We have Wenger doing some fireproofed cabinets. There's just a couple IT related things like installing wireless access points throughout the building. Like this week we had, last week actually, we had Comtract on site running the fiber into the building. So that's an owner vendor. I'm trying to think. So those are the people that we've been meeting with on site, measuring for their work. You know, the shelving, we had Donegan Systems come out and walk with us. We've been meeting with those IT and communications vendors that I mentioned bi-weekly, just making sure that we're coordinating with Bacon subcontractors as well.
So is so who is scheduling and keeping track of the owner's vendors? Is that you?
It's mostly me, but I've been working with Michael Shantz as well.
Okay.
On a weekly basis. So he is the person responsible for purchasing those vendors and meeting with them. But I've been assisting him. Like last week, we finalized the phone count. We got those quotes ready to go. And Mattel, who's installing the phone systems, they'll be coming in, after we have furniture in the building.
Okay. That helps me understand. I don't know, maybe this is a question for the superintendent. This type of reporting gives us visibility over what's planned. So I don't know, as we get closer to the school opening, if all of those things that are under contract direct to the owner that you're managing, if we need to worry about having those reported out at this meeting. I just throw that out there. If that's something we should do, maybe we should try to get set up for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've done owner vendor schedules in the past. So as we get a little bit closer to July, end of July, early August, I think they'll have a good idea of exactly what days they're going to go. Like, for example, I talked to Donegan Systems this morning. Their shelving has arrived in the shop, and he's looking to come out on site and schedule that. And we would like to give a little bit of time for Bacon to get through and finish painting in those rooms before we go install shelving. So it's definitely a matter of coordinating with Bacon as well to make sure that the vendors aren't on top of each other in the building.
All right, thank you. That's all I had. Anybody have anything? All right. Moving on to the designer update.
I share my screen.
There you go, Gene.
Try again. Nope, the host has disabled my sharing.
Oh,
good
hold
reason.
on.
Be nice. You let Alyssa, come on.
Alyssa always has good news.
Ooh.
Hurt.
I felt that back here.
All right,
There you go.
so everyone can see. We good?
Now we are. Yep.
Oh, okay, great.
Just to remind you, where do you think Alyssa gets all this good news from? Making sure you understand.
It's not easy, Alyssa, is it?
No, it's not.
All right, so I think Alyssa sent this memo out a couple of days ago. For us, it's all about just explaining change orders. So I don't know if anyone saw it or has any questions, but I can hit the highlights if you want. So there's a change order 14, the amount is 150,395.28. But there's kind of one big building related one, a bunch of small ones, but there's a couple site issues, including Wally Kruger Way and some concrete, again, just waste concrete from the original building that was found under one of the playgrounds. So out of the 150, there's about, I'm going to round up, about 100 of it is just related to site stuff. And then I always try to just track where we are. You've used, if you approve this change order, you'll have used about $803,000, well, added $803,000 to Bacon's contract. It's about 1.6% of the original contract value, which is not bad. And out of that, about, I don't know, a fifth of that, but 231,000, a quarter of that, let's say, is just kind of site related things. So you're really kind of tracking at closer to 1%, which is phenomenal. I'll just, so there's a $4,900 one. We had some pipes that were crossing from wing A, which is the kindergarten wing, across the lobby. And remember, the lobby's two stories up front and 1 story in the back. So we had to get some pipes above the ceiling in the 1-story section. And it was one of the few things that we couldn't figure out how to do, just because of a steel beam there. So we had to build a little gypsum board soffit just to hide the piping in the lobby. And then it scoots up and it goes above the ceiling. So I'm pretty confident when people go in, they're going to be focused on the bridge and all the, really cool stuff that's happening, and no one's even going to notice this little, painted soffit. And I don't know any other way we could have done it. So the big one, there's $94,000, which is a little bit less than we thought it was going to be, but for the repaving of Wally Kruger Way. Then there's $3,500 to change fire protection sprinkler heads down in the boiler room. We had 2 ceilings in there. The real kind of fireproofing one and noise one is a gypsum board ceiling, up tight to the deck. And then, I'm just gonna say, I'm not sure why we even had, but we had a drop ceiling down below that, which I don't know why. We needed a nice ceiling in the boiler room. But anyway, when the sprinkler piping went in, they set up the heads so that they would work with the drop ceiling, the acoustic ceiling tile. And then it became really hard to get all the hangers, and it made no sense to put the acoustic ceiling in. And so we have to change the sprinkler heads so that they work with the gypsum board ceiling. And like I say, that's about $3,500. And then there's $4,800 that just was kind of a mess up on the civil engineer who did the grading out by the receiving area. Bacon didn't do anything wrong. They just kind of graded it according to the drawings. And then we figured out that it, as the job went on, we're paving or getting ready to pave, and, we got to move some curbs. So unfortunately, that's just sometimes one of those things that happens, but it's about $4,800. There's another $4,800. This is when they built the original building, they probably, and they have concrete trucks and they don't use all the concrete. So it's just great if they can find a place to dump the rest while they're cleaning out their trucks. And I'm sure they just dug a big hole or did whatever they did, but it ended up under the location of one of the playgrounds. So when Bacon went to install this new playground, they started digging down and found this huge chunk of concrete, and it had to be pulled out. I assume it got done. Yeah, it was on a time and materials basis. So that's what the slips added up to. I've got a picture of this next one. This is something that John and I noticed when we were walking through the building a couple months ago. And I'll come back to, I'll show you some, well, it's $36,000. So it's, you know, pretty significant, and I apologize for it. What we noticed was, can you see this picture? Okay. On the second floor of the pre-K wing, you know, usually we have these lockers, and behind this locker is just more floor space. There's 2 areas where we have lockers, or 3 areas, I'm sorry, in front of openings, you know, those floor openings that let the light come down to the first floor. And as we were walking through, you know, we just said to ourselves, ooh, shoot, it wouldn't be good if a kid put anything, a book, backpack, sneakers, whatever, up here, and not on purpose, but, you know, it just got pushed and it ended up falling down the hole. So John and I came up with the idea of just putting like a glass rail here, and John did up a kind of a rough sketch, but it tells the story. You know, we'd have a metal channel here, and then just some glass, and we'd kind of create this little backstop here so that you know, hopefully you avoid what could be a, you know, not good accident. But unfortunately, it's about $10,000 per opening, and the price is at $36,000. But I don't see how you don't authorize it, because it just seems like it's a safety issue. And like I say, I apologize that we didn't think about it when we were doing the drawings. And then the last one was about $1,500. We had to upgrade the glass that goes indoors in the stairwells. You know, we've always done stairwell doors, just put in regular glass as long as it's under a certain size. And in this case, the door manufacturer said, no, that has to be fire rated glass. We're like, what? No, we've never done that. And you know, so we checked with our code consultant. He said, yeah, in fact, it really does have to be. So that's a small upcharge for changing out the glass and the frame and the stairwell doors. So that's that. Those are all the items that make up that $150,000 change order that you'll see a little later. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of them. If not, I just wanted to, you know, not push it. I just want to follow up on if you want us to be doing anything related to a dedication plaque. So as of, I don't know, couple weeks ago, John, you know, we got approval on the George Mitchell plaque, and it's going to go, you come in the front door and it's going to be on the wall right there before you go down the hall to the pre-K wing. And then it's, you know, various points we've talked about, perhaps in the vestibule, whether it's on this wall. I think John thinks it has to go over on this wall because there's some fire alarm equipment here. But doing, you know, what I keep calling a traditional dedication plaque. And I keep showing you the same one just because it happens to be the one we did most recently. And I don't know if you want to do it, but if you do, we're happy to lay one out and get it priced up. We just haven't had any feedback on how you'd want to treat it. So I'm just going to throw that little bomb out there, but that's about all we have, John.
Okay. Any questions for RDA?
Alyssa, have we brought up the original photo officially to the owner?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So we need an original photo file of George Mitchell. I did try to look for it in like historical files on AKA Google. But I wasn't able to find the full quality photo of George Mitchell. Does anyone happen to know where we can find that so we can provide it to Bacon?
Alyssa? Alyssa?
Yes.
To develop the bas relief for the George Mitchell plaque, they're trying to see if we can give them an original photo. I don't know if George Mitchell's family has that original photo, or even if we take that original photo and don't give it to Bacon, but give them a very good scan or picture of that. What we gave them was what we actually took a picture of a piece of paper back in the early days when we were first in that building. So my understanding from Bacon is that the resolution of this file that we gave them is not quite enough to do the bas relief. So we're trying to impose on the town to see if we can find something with a little better resolution.
John, this is Mike. We can reach out to see if we can get maybe this original photo. It looked like possibly at one of his kids' weddings. So we'll reach out. Lil and I can make with the family and see if we can get an original.
I would advise against giving it to Bacon, but if we had the original in front of us, we could have someone take a very high resolution picture of it.
Yep, agreed. Yep.
Okay,
Well,
just not sure if it ever reached your ears yet that this is something we need from the town.
yeah, no, it had, and I apologize. I thought Alyssa had the copy, but I didn't realize what she had was not a good quality copy. So we'll work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think the committee should talk about the plaque. I think we've already taken a vote, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong. We took a vote to separate. Well, we took a vote to make it two separate plaques, right? One for recognizing George Mitchell, and then the second one would be this dedication plaque, the building plaque, I'll just call it. I can't remember if we actually voted to, spend any money on it, or if this is the next step that we have to decide that we're going to do it, we're going to fund it, and then approve the layout and the names. Does anybody have a better recollection than I do?
No, I think that's where we stand, John. It was we went back to asking RDA to look at designing one of these, but we did not decide who was going to be on it. Are we going back the entire length of time of the project? So what I did when I saw this, I pulled together a list and came up with 77 names, only 4 of which are repeated twice. So we're looking at a plaque of 73 people if we do that. I don't know how we don't, frankly, without offending someone. So I just throw that out there. And 77 is what I found based on a quick review of meeting minutes. So I'm not even 100% positive the 77 is an accurate number. I can guarantee it will not be lower, but it might be higher.
So just to clarify for me at least, that 77 is the historical roster of, say, the building committee? The
Yep,
school?
so
Okay.
that's the historical roster of the school committee, the town council, the school building committee, and administration. Much like the plaque that Jean shared with us, I sort of broke it down that way. Obviously had to add the town council because they are a different body than the school committee in Bridgewater, so.
I'm not sure what the right answer is. I'll just throw this out. Because the people in Marblehead had the same problem because the project took 6 or 7 years. So what they decided at the end was it was the people who were serving when the building was dedicated. And I have no idea if that is the right thing or wrong thing. But.
No, I was thinking about this too, and I agree with Gene. And originally, I thought that we should include everybody, but there are a lot of people on the original committee that didn't want to go in this direction and didn't want to do this. And there are some people that were there for, I think just to simplify it, we should just keep it, I think just keep the names of the school building committee as it currently stands today.
For what it's worth, I would agree with Pat. I think when you 99 times out of 100 when you do a commemorative plaque, it's the current members, as of the completion, as of the CO of the building.
I guess I would, Gene, as well, just support that, Patrick and the town manager's idea, and maybe, if it's possible, some sort of one sentence caveat that kind of captures all those that have served in some capacity over the past 6 years, something to that effect.
Good idea.
This is Mark. I would agree with what was previously said from everybody.
I just think it's too much. Ultimately, we're gonna forget somebody, which could be worse than listing everybody. And then, it's 77 names is ridiculous, so.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for providing at least a ballpark of what we're looking at, because it helps drive the discussion tonight. And I think that this is a good compromise for everyone in terms of recognizing the current committee. And like I said, to Pat's point, people feeling offended that they were left off. That's why I'm just asking to possibly just consider some sort of caveat that captures anyone that's not individually named on the plaque.
One of the things that I am concerned about, and Matt, it's Renee. Renee did a lot of work to get this school passed. She went with me to the senior center. We gave presentations, and it was her efforts that really helped us to get the school passed in the town. And I guess that's where my hesitancy is. Someone like her, I want to recognize her for her efforts right from the get-go. But I mean, she was just one of the people that really brought this forward. And I agree with everyone else that some of the people that were on the committee did not want to go in this direction and left the committee for that reason. But there were some other people that were very passionate about it. And Kathy Blaze is another one who spent a lot of time going through numbers. And so, I mean, I just feel like those two people, that they come to mind right away. We also had the administrators, Al Baroncelli. He did a lot of work when it first collapsed, the roof first collapsed. Judy McDougall was our recording secretary for a while. And she was in the trenches also when the roof collapsed. And there's some people that, and I know we have to draw that line somewhere, but they gave a lot to getting the school moved from one site to another and also getting the school passed. So those are just my thoughts.
Lil, and I appreciate that. I actually had a discussion with Renee at home, and I'm willing to swap out my name for hers. but I do, and that's why I think, you know, even in this discussion, is I feel like we're finally getting to a happy point. I think that it is important, to your point, of some way acknowledging those early committee members. And I don't know how to wordsmith that properly, but I think that most would, and as Renee said to me, I could care less. But I think that most people, if we could just get some sort of 1.5 sentence acknowledgement or something at the bottom that, you know, recognizes that early hard work. Because to your point and to everyone's point, I remember the early days, there were people on the committee that I felt that, you know, just on there just to sort of tank this project, didn't want to see it come to where it is today. And they've fallen off over time. But if we could recognize that, I think that those people would be happy enough and understand that we can't list the 70 names, as Michael has said, that could it be even more than that. But, you know, I guess it's another compromise. So it's just a short, brief narrative.
So you all, I feel about this, and I'll be voting no on it, but there are people on the other two bodies we're listing that wanted to see this project tank, that we're going to be listing based on the fact that they're currently serving on those bodies.
I have an idea as well when we do the program for, you know, the ribbon cutting and stuff. Perhaps we could list all of those names there, you know, when it's the ribbon cutting happens, and find a way to capture that, you know, paper and display it as well. The plaque that's up for the Lucretia, if I'm saying it right, in Joseph Brown Elementary School, it's about 36 names. And when we did the renovation at Southeastern, we had 33 on the plaque. I had sent that to Alyssa a while ago, just for information.
So I think the discussion, you know, points to the dilemma that we have. You know, part of me says, you know, it's either the current, or, you know, committees or bodies as they're currently constituted, or it's something else, right? So I don't know, like Matt, the reference to other people that put a lot of time in, I'm paraphrasing, right? I don't know if that gets the recognition that I think we're looking for. Would we, I mean, my vote would be listed as currently constituted, and that's just the way business is done for these type of things, and move on. But would we ever consider key contributors, a whole nother heading, and then vote on who gets on that, you know, under that other grouping? I don't see how we could single out anybody if we're, that isn't on one of these bodies right now for recognition. In my opinion, I just don't see how we can do that. It'd be different if, like, they wrote a check. That's different. You know, not in this environment, obviously, but those are my thoughts. But I think we got to decide. We got to move on, right? I mean, otherwise it'll be August and we'll still be debating this. So I think we should try to come to some resolution tonight. At least the path forward, maybe not the exact wording and names, but a path forward. So just to add to that, so if we do want to do this, I think we need a vote, and then there's going to be a cost associated with it, right, Alyssa? We're going to have to authorize that. So I'm just trying to figure out how we move this forward in the direction that everybody, you know, votes on.
John, this is Joe. Quick question, just looking at the Brown Elementary School, is there an opportunity of just asking the school committee or the administrators as to clearly they arrived at an agreeable way to be able to recognize the respective school building committee and such? So, and I would suspect that they had similar conversations because of the amount of time that was spent, to ask them, how did they arrive at that? So at least there's a pattern of how names are put on, as opposed to just doing our own little thing, just for consideration.
So Joe, do you mean ask, our town council, ask our school committee?
No, more or less asking kind of who are the project leads for the Lucretia and Joseph Brown Elementary School, because they arrived at a decision for who goes on the plaque. Right, we're using that as an example.
I don't know if you're asking me the question, that the school building committee was in, like you all, they made the call. They had representatives on there from, the school department and the school committee, and they had the town manager was one of their, sounds like this one. But I'm not sure if that's what you were asking. I mean,
More or less, similarly, it's more or less what is the process that they used in order to arrive as far as who finally went on there.
yeah, well, like I say, at some point they went around and around because they were in business for many years like you are, and they just said, it's just the people who are here now.
So
it's kind of funny.
Process, do we follow that, then, because clearly it is a challenge, and so I would more or less go as far as let's be consistent with other communities as far as what we arrive at.
I mean, you guys sound like you have a fourth entity, which is the town council, right? Well, assuming you want to do the school committee and the administrators, but
It's called Lonely at the Top Time.
whatever you decide, like we'll make, obviously, we'll mock up a couple things and run it by you. So I just, like John said, I think at some point you're going to run out the clock. So
This is Mark. I'll make the motion that we use the same format that the Brown School in Marblehead used, with the current members of the school building committee, the school committee, the city, the town council, and the administrators, with the, obviously the owner's project manager, architect, construction manager. And at Southeastern, we made sure we prominently put the Mass School Building Authority, since they gave us money for the project.
I do like the line on here, and I think it's similar to what Matt was talking about. This one says, thank you to the citizens of Marblehead, for your generous support. So they kind of tried to broaden it, but it was general.
If I can just add one more thing. We looked at the Rainham Middle School plaque. So I do have a photo of that, which I can circulate as well. And that school was built as a regional school for Bridgewater Rainham. And they included the permanent school planning and building committee, the Bridgewater Rainham Regional School Committee, Town of Rainham, and then the subcommittee. And they listed about 11 names under that. And then separately, they had superintendent of schools, Town of Rainham, Board of Selectmen, and then architect contractor. I guess at that time you didn't need an OPM. And then the previous Bridgewater Elementary School plaque, which is actually sitting under the trailer right now, just listed the building committee and the superintendent and the architect, clerk of the works, and then the assistant superintendent. So I can circulate those two images around as well to aid to this discussion. But those are just some thoughts on, you know, the previous plaque and then the one from the Rainham Middle School.
If you have pictures, I'm happy to stop sharing, Alyssa. But I
We
don't
have, we have a motion though, right?
Yeah. Right, so,
So I'll second it just for discussion, so we can continue the discussion.
right, so the motion essentially is the Brown Elementary School go by with the addition of the town council. Exact wording and names to be determined.
Yes.
And
Right.
the thank you on the bottom, right? I mean, that
Mhm.
that can be embellished to thank the citizens and, you know, the other volunteers, you know, not listed or something to that effect. I think that's open. I think that can be done outside of the motion, right? We vote on that.
Yeah, as long as you're acknowledging some sort of thank you, and I'm happy to work with another member, maybe Lil, if she's willing to, you know, work through email to come up with that sort of that tagline, I'll call it, at the end.
Jean, do you mind if I share my screen quickly? Alrighty. Do you see both of the plaques or just one?
Just the one.
Just one.
Okay, sorry. So I think this one, the one that's showing, is the Rainham Middle School plaque. I have them side by side, but it doesn't allow me to share the whole screen. So this was the one at the Rainham Middle School. So again, you can see that was from September of 2001, where it listed the town, building committee, school committee, subcommittee, and then superintendent, selectman, architect, contractor. So that's in the Rainham Middle School. And then the current plaque, or I should say the previous plaque, I'll also share that one, is this plaque here from, I think it was 1997. So those are just some examples to show from this district.
It's interesting that they didn't put the builder on there.
Right. Yeah, they put architect, clerk of the works, and superintendent of schools, and
It was probably a good add the builder.
Yeah, you're right, Michael.
I know that's a little bit of editorial, but
all right.
Did we already cover what it's on the high school? The new high school? Didn't know if we looked at that in the previous meeting. Anybody recall?
I don't think we did.
Okay,
I can go by and take a picture tomorrow if someone will let me in, and I can circulate that photo.
okay. So we're still in discussion. So I guess the other thing that was stated, at least in the discussion, was the addition of acknowledging the Mass School Building Authority. Is that was not on the the brown go by.
Yeah, it is in small print.
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, so is there any more discussion? Should we take a vote?
All right, if you're ready, I'll do the vote. John,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mike Dolan,
No,
Mark Lindy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Pat.
Yes.
All right, that's all but one in favor.
All right, thank you. So I guess we just think of the logistics. Eventually, we're gonna have to get pricing, right, Alyssa? But we need to have probably the draft or final proof of what the names and the language and I guess the town symbol or the school symbol, district symbol.
Yeah, John, the price is very dependent on the size. So depending on if we go from 24 by 36 to 30 by 42, that could be, that there'll be a price jump at that. So we need to, it's better if we send the pricing out after we have a rough outline of what we want. So just keep that in mind, please.
Okay. So do we want to plan to have that for the next meeting? Or do we think we need it sooner?
Well, I could come to the next meeting with a layout if someone can give us, list of names, right?
I can get those names to Gene.
Just a question. The current committee, at least for the building committee, do we have non-participants that are listed on the committee? And if we do, I mean, I should know this as the chairman, but I don't. If they haven't participated, are they not going to appear on the list, on the plaque?
So if you want, John, we can run through the list real quick of just this committee. And we can figure that out if that's all right. So we have self, Lil, Matt Rustin, Mark Lindy, Joe. I'm not going to say your last name, Joe. I always mess it up. Pat Driscoll, Scott, again, not saying his last name, Mike Loesch, Harsh Ravello, Dennis Bray, Lisa Ullman, Kathy Macedo, Derek Swenson, Mike Dutton, Ryan Powers, and John DeZallo.
So
Not
the only one I would say that's out off the list, Michael, because I don't know that he's attended more than one meeting.
sorry, Matt. Who was that?
I was saying John is the only person I could think of that only attended one in-person meeting prior to COVID and has never attended again.
That's what my thought was, Matt, but I wasn't 100% positive.
Yeah, I would say he's not listed on the plaque.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Mike, are you, is that off of the MSBA, what, the listing, the committee listing that we give the MSBA an update?
No, it's not. That's actually taken directly from the minutes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know when the last time that document was updated. Alyssa, I'll defer to you on that one. I don't know when that was.
That was probably before my time, so I'll have to look back into the files.
Okay.
Does anybody feel differently?
Am I missing? Again, that's just this committee.
I don't think so.
Okay. Gene, I'll get you this list later on tonight.
Thanks, Mike.
And I guess for the superintendent or does Derek want to come up with the administration names, or is it obvious? I got to open that up again.
I can work with Derek on that list and get that. Well,
Okay.
That works.
So yeah, I mean, I would defer to, who he lists, and the Brown Elementary School is just a go by, right? It's not an exact application for us, but okay, good. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so that's going to be, we'll make sure that's on the agenda for the next meeting. And then we'll take it from there. We can finalize the size and just get it in the works and move on. I think I'm done with that topic unless anybody else has anything further. Item 9, moving services award, vote required.
Actually, I don't think, John, I'm sorry, I don't think we voted the change order, the Bacon change order 14.
We didn't?
No.
We talked about it.
That is bad. That is bad. I'm sorry. So we haven't even, I'm sorry, we haven't even gone to that item on the agenda, right? So
Right.
coming to my senses through prodding. So item 8, approval of Bacon change order number 14, vote required. So Gene already gave us the summary in his report. So I don't know, are there any questions before we make a motion? All right,
This is Lil. I'll make a motion to approve Bacon's change order number 14 in the amount of $150,395.28.
Matt Rushton will second that.
okay. Take the roll.
All right, John,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mike Dolan,
yes.
Mark Lindy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Pat.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Okay, item 9, moving services award, vote required.
So the moving services award recommendation is for Sterling Corporation. So they estimated 3 or maybe a 4th day of moving based on the scope that was given, for a total of $29,642. This was posted on the Goods and Services Bulletin, although not required. Sterling is on the state bid list, which procurement-wise means that quotes between $10,000 and $50,000 are to be awarded to the best value. We did get a second quote from William Lowe and Sons. They estimated the job at $1,100. So we rejected that bid because it was not substantially accurate in the estimate. We fully included the scope on 5 school moves and have been coordinating the packing with the district. So this being, in 2 months from now, we've already secured the date, the week that we're moving, August 22nd. And again, it's estimated to be 3, maybe 4 days. So they would go to the school with the moving company, the moving supervisor. They would allow each of the boxes that are labeled to be moved to the accurate location. So we went through a labeling process for the things that are going to be moved. We've also worked with Sterling a number of times, and so all references are in check. So we are recommending the estimated move for not to exceed amount of $29,642.
John,
Yes, Pat.
Alyssa, what is this for? Is this just, this isn't all the furniture being moved from one school. This is just, what is this?
The moving services is for boxes, teachers' belongings. It's for gym equipment, music equipment. So there's inter-school moves that are happening. So we have first and second grade moving, pre-K moving. We have 8th grade moving, and then the middle school is also moving. So it's 5 inter-school moves. And so this contract would allow us to use Sterling for 1 year. So this move price is just for the week of the August 22nd. If there were school moves that needed to happen within the district past that week, we would have them under a contract to be able to do that work. So this estimated move is just for the week of August 22nd, and this would cover all of the scope within this project.
What about all the, so is that just for this, what about Mitchell going, what about the Williams changing and the 8th grade coming out of the high school? How's all that furniture being handled? Who's paying for that? Is that the district in addition to this, or is?
Yes, this is all captured in our move price here of the $29,642. So they gave us time and travel. That's all that's included. And then here is the estimated packing materials. We've already gone ahead and ordered boxes. However, things like bins and things like that would not be rented, but they would utilize that for the move. So we'd be requiring, gym equipment to be put in bins by Sterling, and those things would be what's moved. So we're only purchasing time and materials from Sterling for this move. So again, it's estimated to be 3 days, potentially 4. So if I go further ahead into my document here.
So when the 8th grade comes out of the high school, for example, what's happening to all those desks and everything that are there for the 8th grade, and how are they moving to the intermediate school or the junior high across the street?
So I met with Tom and Derek about the moves, and we've determined that this is the moving schedule here. The high school and Williams furniture is going to remain, but for the furniture going to the Mitchell is all going to be new. So there's nothing to include there. These are the things that are moving on this list here.
And
From Mitchell.
yeah, and Alyssa, we purchased furniture for the 6 through 8 at 166 Mount Prospect. So nothing is going to have to get moved there furniture wise.
So that'll all be brand new?
All brand new. Yeah.
So 166 will all be brand new?
Yep. It's already been being delivered. It's being housed in the gymnasium at the middle school. 166 Mount Prospect.
For some reason, I thought it was be hundreds of thousands to move all these schools around, but it's 29,000 and that covers everything.
Yes, and it also includes us moving small wares that are potentially to be delivered to our storage containers at the current Mitchell, moving to the new Mitchell. We are trying to reroute as many shipments to the new school as possible, but if there are things that arrive and we don't have a place to put them, we've secured those storage containers that are at the current Mitchell. So we spent maybe $2,000 on that for the summer to be able to have a place for things to arrive that are not temperature sensitive, like technology or anything like that is not going to go in those containers.
So from my perspective, this is a recommendation, right?
Yes.
To make this award, and the administration team and the CHA team have made sure that it covers the scope. It's a responsive bid or proposal, and we just need to vote to move it forward, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions? All right, I think we'd entertain a motion then to move this forward.
John, I'll make a motion that we approve as presented the contract for $29,642 for moving school equipment. It looks like it's Sterling is the bid.
Lil, second.
All right, let's take the roll.
All right, John,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Mike Dolan,
Mike.
Yes.
okay, Mark Lindy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
Harsh,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Pat.
Yeah.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. Item 10, report of the communication group.
So things, Lil, Mr. Dutton, can you give Lil access to share, please?
Sure.
Lil's going to for the Publix tour on the 27th. Again, that's August 27th, Saturday, from 9 to noon. And that is open to the public. And you should see it momentarily. But the ribbon cutting is September 10th, and that will be invitation only. That event will not be open to the public, as the building will be fully occupied by our teachers and our students at that point. So names will be up on lockers. Students' desks will have their names all over them. We cannot allow the public to walk through at that point. That's a safety concern. So that's why we're doing this in two different phases, or two different events, I should say. The ribbon cutting is the 10th, which is a Saturday as well. And Lil, go for it, maybe?
Yeah, that's not working.
I'm not going to be able to share it because I'm on my iPad. So
I have the screen. It's not showing my desktop.
as an option,
Yeah,
all the people as an option,
say that again.
seeing all of the participants in the meeting as an option.
Yes.
That's the screen. So click on that one to share.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Now you'll open up the invitation. Oh my God.
There we go.
A lot of stuff on your desktop, Mrs. Holbrook.
Okay, we're not talking about that. Remember? It's gone.
So this is the invitation, the open house for the public. Again, 9 to 12. You can see the artist rendering down at the bottom. Kept it pretty simple. This will be shared on our website and on the Facebook page. I encourage all of you as well, once that does happen, to share it on your Facebook pages if you so choose. So yeah, that's about it.
Looks nice.
Yeah. Looks nice.
Am I invited?
Yes, you're invited,
Yeah.
Alyssa, and expected to be there.
Choice.
All right. Great. Lil's got to find that trash button.
Yeah, that's,
I suffer from the same thing.
thanks. I've done this twice now. But yeah, no.
As you know, as soon as you clean it up, someone's in the family.
Exactly, they're gonna want that.
You remember that picture of so-and-so? Do you know who that is? Oh, all right.
Exactly.
So is that it for the communication group?
That is it, as long as Ms. Holbrook knows how to stop sharing her screen.
Stop sharing.
Thank you.
Got it.
All right. Item 11, next Mitchell Elementary School Building Committee meetings. And I closed that file.
Yeah, July 11th and August 8th.
Okay, so July 11th will be the next meeting. Item 12, new business.
I did have a few items to share today. So the first one is new business, and the other two are old business or follow-up items. So as Derek mentioned, we did have a break-in occur last night at the site. Bridgewater PD is gathering security camera footage from the neighboring businesses. The access was through Route 18 through the back entrance of the site. So they're looking at footage for that and trying to determine any cell tower signals that hit that would put someone on the site between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. When they believe that occurred. They broke into the building through the plywood doors, which were locked. So those are temporary doors into the building. We do have storefront doors being installed currently. So those will officially be locked with actual hardware this week, hopefully. So they're working to get that installed, but they have been locking the building. They have been locking the site as usual. The person who broke in cut locks to the trailers, storage containers. They stole copper wire from the building and various tools that, as of today, Bacon Construction has already replaced. So it hasn't stopped schedule or anything like that. We've just been coordinating with the police department, and we called basically like an emergency meeting with Bacon today to address it. They're going to continue locking the site, securing the site. We do have permanent security cameras already installed throughout, but those are about a month away from being up and running fully because there's a lot of programming that has to happen. We are waiting on IP addresses from the IT consultant. So the district has an IT manager, Michael Shantz. So he's been managing a consultant that owes us IP addresses. So that request has been late. We've been waiting a few months for that and continually pushing to get those IP addresses. So the sooner we get those, the sooner that we can start programming those security cameras. So that's crucial in this moment. So we're continuing to put pressure on that situation. But as of right now, I know I spoke with Derek this morning on it and just asking if the police department can, make a round at the site throughout the night just to see what's going on the site, just to have an increased presence. This has happened on other projects before with Bacon and, my previous employer when I was a general contractor. It's usually a one-time thing. They sometimes can determine from security footage who the person was. If they know it's specific items, they can look at pawn shops nearby and try to determine, who was involved. So at this time, the cost is all on Bacon. Like I said, they've already gone ahead and purchased the items that have been stolen, so they're replacing those on their own dime. The subcontractors who are missing material are going through their insurance. So we're just continuing to be vigilant about the security on the site. For the next meeting, we will be proposing the cost for the Corey check company. So there will be a third-party company that will continue to Corey check since we'll be getting closer to occupancy. And then there's punch list that needs to happen. We also would like to see anybody who's servicing the school, whether it be a warranty item or a punch list item that may be around, the occupied building, they will all be Corey checked by this company. So we'll begin processing those, mid-July. So that way, when it comes time for occupancy, we already have various contractors and vendors Corey checked. So I will present that cost for the next meeting. So just continuing to be, again, vigilant on the security standpoint. Does anyone have any questions on that update?
Alyssa, I have a question.
Yes.
Was anything actually ripped out of the building? Any copper tubing, wiring? Was it actually ripped out or just loose?
It was just, they basically rolled it out of the building. It was on, it was a spooled up wire, copper wire that they took out. So there was nothing disrupted, no installations disrupted or anything like that. They pretty much just ransacked what they could and got out of there what seems to be pretty quickly.
So it was clearly a, excuse me, clearly a theft and not a act of vandalism.
That's right.
So Alyssa, just to recap, there's no impact to the schedule and the materials that were stolen. They aren't long lead items, so they're going to be able to purchase whatever wire they need to complete the work.
That's correct. They're not
there's
long lead time items or affecting schedule.
And there's no cost to the town because it's a theft and it's managed by under the contractor's purview.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
So the other two items I have were just follow-ups from the last building committee meeting. So I know we've been coordinating with RDA and Bacon on this item regarding the abutters property. The three parties, RDA, Bacon, CHA, we walked the neighbor's property after the last building committee meeting. We then determined a location for a potential fence. Right now, there is a 6-foot fence that has been ordered as of January when the approval went out. And that was a 6-foot fence. The neighbor has requested a 12-foot fence along their property. This was Michael Sylvia. He's requested a 12-foot fence, so we asked Bacon to give us a rough order of magnitude on that pricing. We were given a cost of approximately $300 per linear foot, and so the math, it ends up coming out to over $100,000 for that fence. So right now,
additional?
yes,
Additional? Yeah.
yes. So the current fence that we own, there would be no credit for that because it was released a while ago and was scheduled to be installed in early July. So that fence that we've already paid for, we'll have in possession. It's arriving actually next week to their shop. So the other issue is that they're not able to even source cedar that goes to 12 feet. So that design would have to be thought of a little bit more closely. And then also because of the height of that potential fence, the foundations would also need to be about 5 feet deep for the wind load. So there's a price associated with that as well. So if this is something that the building committee wants to consider, we would need to act extremely quickly. because this was scheduled to be installed early July. And then, the cost associated is upwards of $100,000. So,
John, can I ask also a question?
Sure.
Maybe Michael, so we have a fence height in Bridgewater, it's either 6 or 7 feet. I think in the zoning rewrite that's before the council right now, the max fence height is 7 feet.
okay.
So I mean, I think we'd have to go to ZBA to even consider a 12-foot fence.
So I think,
That concern was brought up too, yeah.
yeah, I'd say a 12-foot fence is also, I mean, yeah, it would be out of place, just my opinion, but Pat's right. I think our zoning limits it currently to 6, Pat, and now it's gonna go up a little bit, just,
I'm not sure what we have now, but I think in the Bobrowski rewrite that's before the council right now, he bumped it to 7.
right.
I think in the, I can't, I'm looking for it right now.
John, if I could, while Pat's looking for that, as much as that's relevant, I'm sure we should be spending $300,000 on a fence that is, with all due respect, only impacting one neighbor.
And why 12 feet? Has there been a study done or something?
His concern was on privacy of his yard, and he mentioned in his email to us, and then I actually had to rewatch the last building committee meeting so I could understand what the request was, but he was concerned about the privacy and the grade of the site. So the new school is on a higher grade than the old school was, so he was concerned about people looking through his property. And he mentioned that some of the trees and the brushings created a canopy, so it provided a little bit more privacy to his property. But even if we had a 12-foot fence, you're still going to see from inside the school building and into the backyard. So we're just trying to come up with, what could potentially be a solution. But where the current fence is, has already been planned and approved to be that way. And if the fence goes to 12 feet, if that's even a possibility, it would have to be much closer, and then there would be a gap that would be pretty much inaccessible for maintenance. So it's something that, I walked with RDA and Bacon just to look at this area and determine where that fence might go. But I didn't know, Jean or John, I don't know if you have anything to add from your side based on, the design and things like that.
I kind of want, to be honest, I've seen pictures and the site plan, but I was kind of hoping to walk it on Friday. I mean, I want to go through the building on Friday with you guys, so. I just want to, because I keep coming back to why aren't we just doing evergreens, but I don't have a good picture exactly where this request is being made.
Yeah, I would agree, Gene. If you did the green giants that we talked about earlier, they're going to get 12 to 15 feet, and it's a natural hedge over time.
Yeah, and it's just going to be better. It's going to look softer. A 12-foot fence is going to look like a billboard.
I think we should reconsider the plantings. I know we were worried about maintenance, but those Tuya placatas, the green giants, are very low maintenance, and they get in excess of 20 feet over time. So
this is a picture that I actually took today in current time of where his property is. So pretty much this is where the retaining wall is, where you already see the fence posts, and that fence would be around the corner where the island is on this side, coming all the way around to his property, which is right there.
So his property is not like 10 feet down from the parking lot, right?
Right.
So I mean, I would, if it were me, I would definitely put in a green hedge, and it's going to look a lot better for him and a lot better for the school. And if it's evergreen, you know, it'll be there all year long.
And a lot less money.
Hopefully a lot less money, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why zoning has a fence height limit.
You know, I can't find it in our existing zoning, and maybe we don't have a height, but the new rewrite that's before the council right now that could be approved before the fence is here is 7 feet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys just put up a beautiful new school. I think a 12-foot high fence is gonna look
Yeah.
jury rigged.
This is Lisa. I mean, is the neighbors concerned that the kids are gonna be looking in their backyard? Like, we're not looking out the window.
You can build a house next to him and look at his backyard. I don't see.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't understand, you know, nobody's standing at the window looking out. We've abutted that same house for a long time in the old school. And, you know, you could see the backyard, but it wasn't like everybody's standing there and it's their focus. The kids aren't really going to be looking out those windows at their backyard. I think the evergreens would be look much nicer.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice natural boundary. I think if you put a big fence there, it's going to have an awful look when you're pulling into the driveway of the school. It's going to look.
Plus, you're gonna be replacing it in 20 years, right?
Yeah, or less.
You know, whatever. So, I mean, I would just do the trees are forever, you know?
So how about if we just take it under advisement, right? There's the tour Friday, which I can't make. Why don't everybody who attends just take a look, and Alyssa, you already told us the original accommodation or plan for the fencing, it's on its way, so there's nothing we're gonna do different.
Yeah, this would have had to be something that was addressed, you know, 6 to 8 months.
I don't hold that up. I mean, is it the consensus of the committee to go forward with the existing fence? And then if we need to do something more, we can add some plantings. I mean, we don't want to think about it too long and hold up this fence that's coming in, right? We want them to continue forward with the existing fence, right?
Makes
Yeah, that
sense.
would be my understanding.
You're gonna need some sort of barrier, you know, on that retaining wall, or you're gonna have a safety concern.
12.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Oh, I think that makes sense. You know, we already own the fence, basically.
Right. Yeah, so I was gonna say, I haven't heard anything tonight that wants me to change course. But not, you know, not just discount it. I think people taking a look Friday would be a good reference. I can drive by too.
Yeah, if there's any more photos that you would like me to take while we're there, I'd be more than happy to forward those onto you on what's currently existing and the plans that we have.
All right, did you have any more new business?
I have one more
Old
thing.
business, I should say, continued business?
Yes. One more follow-up again from the last meeting on the landscaping. So we spoke with Bacon on the landscaping maintenance and potential contract. So it's Central Nurseries, that's the company. They're proposing a landscaping maintenance cost. So typically with, you know, subcontractors and just like any other project, they provide operations and maintenance manuals. So that gives clear instructions on how to care for the plantings that they've planted, how to care for the landscaping, how to maintain it, and things like that. So I spoke to him actually in person. He was the president of the company, just checking in on progress, doing his usual site walkthrough, and he said they are currently pricing it. They want to give us an accurate cost on each and every one of the plantings, the grass and things like that. He gave me a rough order of magnitude of about $35,000 per year. But however, they're out of Rhode Island, so he proposed that just like any other district or school property, to put that scope out to bid, and perhaps there's a local landscaping company that the district could engage with that would provide maintenance services, monthly or however often that's required in the O&M manuals. So that was the conversation that was had. We're still getting a formal maintenance proposal from that company, Central Nurseries, but that was the number given to me. He quoted about $35,000 verbally. So until I get the hard copy of that quote, I don't have it to circulate. But his recommendation was find someone local in the district that can do the work. And typically that's what other schools do for the maintenance of the landscaping.
So Alyssa, didn't we say that that wouldn't be a project expense? It'll have to be a district expense?
That's correct.
It might be cheap insurance to have that firm that planted it do it for the first year. They planted it, they're responsible for the plants. So if things die and don't take, they're the ones caring for them and planting them. It's probably a good insurance policy.
Great. So if I get that over to you guys, I'll circulate it for probably the next meeting for further discussion. That's all I have.
Maybe I could ask the superintendent just for a clarification. Derek, is that something, an action for the committee if it's not part of that project funding, or, not that we don't want to support it? Is it really for us to act on, or just to gather the information?
Well, you got a couple of different situations. You got union implications. We have to make sure we're not giving away bargained work. So we got to work with our union first and foremost about that. Because sometimes we have in the past gone out to vendors for certain jobs, and we hear back from, that collective bargaining unit that, that's bargained work. So we're going to be careful on what we do in regard to that. And then secondly, there is a budgetary impact that if it is going to be, I heard 35,000. Is that an annual fee that they're looking at, Alyssa?
Yes.
So, that's something budgetarily that we would need to build into a future budget. So there's a couple of different, so I think an action by this committee to make a vote on that would kind of push our hand in two different directions from a union perspective and also budgetarily. So I would say that my opinion would be that no action would come from this committee, and that would be somewhat of an internal discussion we have once the project is complete.
If I could, John, we don't have the authority to do that. As the school building committee, we don't have the authority to mandate the district take that action. I agree with it. We don't have that authority.
We could make a recommendation to the school committee to explore it, though, and give them the information, correct?
You can, but that doesn't mean they have to.
No, I'm just saying we could make it, we could say, here's the info.
Yep.
There are cost implications if we don't take care of it, in terms of replacement and everything else. So it's up to the school committee to determine whether they want to do it or not, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where I was going, that I didn't think it was an action for the committee, but doesn't mean we can't do the legwork, we meaning Alyssa and the team, And then, yeah, Pat, we can make a recommendation, right, as a concerned committee that we're turning over this building to the district and, you know, we want it to be maintained. And one of the areas we're concerned about is, you know, that they properly fund the maintenance of the landscaping. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm just driving by and seeing those pictures, there's a lot of plantings here. I know a lot of it's native stuff and looks like there's a lot of perennials and trees and there's a lot of work there. I mean, if we get a proposal for 35,000, I'd be shocked. I mean, I think that's cheap.
John, could I just ask a question?
Sure.
So just listening to the conversation, I appreciate what the superintendent is saying about unionized and contractual obligations with employees. Separately, Michael, your position on it's outside of the scope. I kind of want to push back a little bit. So we're building a new school. We're sitting on an amount of contingency money, and we're trying to hand over the school to the district in a way that everything is taken care of, at least for, if not the first year, under manufacturer's warranties. But any extended warranty that we may enter into a contract to make sure it helps transition the school into the district's budget. I certainly think it's well within our scope to make a recommendation. And the argument that I'm making here is typically when you purchased software, usually comes with a 1 to 3 year maintenance agreement. Sometimes they let you extend it out for 5. I'm sure there's items and pieces of equipment, both software, hardware, and mechanical items that we have purchased through the building of this school that have come with warranties and extensions that we might want to entertain sitting on the contingency. And certainly making sure the plantings and the school looks good for the first few years while the school committee asks the towns for the appropriate funding to adequately staff and maintain the grounds, the equipment in the school. I certainly think it's within our scope. I don't think that we cannot do that. And I would ask that the town manager provide a legal opinion on it, because I think to walk away with the contingency money and not set that up for a couple of years for the district, if we have the ability, we should do it.
So if I could, just to clarify before Mr. Dutton jumps in, Matt, I agree with you if we're using the contingency funds to do that, but we cannot dictate the district spend its operational funds that way. That's my point. If we want to vote as a committee to spend the contingency on that, that's fine. That's well within our right. But for this body to dictate we move operational money to cover the cost of that, that's where I think we overstep as a school building committee. So just to,
I don't, are we even talking about that? Aren't we just, isn't a list of gathering the information that if we determine, if we can use contingency money, that's all the thing. But there's nothing wrong with the committee writing a letter of support to go in this direction. You know, if we find it to be beneficial to get the school off the ground and running smoothly, you know?
Yeah, and I might have misinterpreted, but Michael, I completely agree. I think we could write a letter to the school committee, can't dictate what they're going to do, but I do think we have an opportunity with the contingency that we have to maybe help the school committee transition the school into their portfolio by providing extended warranties where appropriate with some of the contingency. And that's really my question. And I think that the school building committee should support that effort if we find different areas where we can do that, such as the grounds.
yeah, I agree with that, Matt. I think you and I are on the same page now.
Yeah, I
Sounds
agree.
good.
I was working on the assumption that it wasn't allowed, but if it's something we need to dig into, yeah, we should.
So I can find out if that's a permissible expense. That shouldn't be hard. But Alyssa, just out of curiosity, is the landscaping guaranteed for 1 year? Is that what the warranty is on that?
They report any dead or not healthy plantings for 12 months, which is a year, but it's not, they don't guarantee the actual maintenance. They just have regular mowings for 90 days. So I believe they are union. I'll have to double check on that because when I spoke to him today, he asked specifically about that. And I can get back to you guys on whether they are union or not. But he said usually for the first year, people do go with him for the maintenance contracts because he's aware of how to maintain and take care of them. He wouldn't want to see a maintenance contract where people are just, like weed whacking and mowing the plantings down and not really taking care of them the way that the O&M state they should be cared for. So once I get the quote and some information on him on the union rates and things like that, I'll get, as much information as I can over to the committee for the next meeting.
And that's different than what we heard last time. We heard it was a year of maintenance, so to speak. And typically the warranty is if the O&M plan is followed. If we're not watering plants and we're not, properly caring for the plants, they're not going to come replace, 20 or 30 plants.
Correct.
If there's a disease or something, they'll come replace it. But we're going to have a tremendous amount of maintenance to get that landscape to take and to look right. Otherwise, it'll just be, 35,000 is a drop in the bucket, I think, to properly maintain the hundreds of thousands of dollars of plantings we have there.
Right.
All right, is that it for that topic of the new business?
All set for me.
All right, thank you. Thanks for following up on that. The next item is public comment. Does anybody have anything?
I just have a quick question for Michael Dutton. If we're doing a lease agreement with the schools, are we gonna have to, so this school, when it comes online, is the town gonna have to do a lease agreement with the district?
So that's an interesting question. It came up the other night at a council meeting, but I'm not aware, and I don't know, maybe, Lil's been around a while, Mike Dolan and Derek. I'm not aware of any lease agreements that have ever been done for the district on either side.
I guess my question is, if we're gonna do a lease agreement for this building, why don't we carve out landscaping and privatize it like we do downtown?
I guess that's a possibility. I don't know. I haven't really looked into that yet.
We would have to look through the regional agreement on that because the regional agreement spells out how the district takes, I don't want to call it ownership, but takes, for the lack of a better term, ownership of the buildings.
Yeah, it essentially spells out the terms of the lease within the agreement.
Right.
Yeah. But I'll look, Pat, to answer your question, I'll look, see what's.
To Matt's point, it's kind of the point I made last meeting. If there's a way we can fund some maintenance to make sure this place gets up and running right, I think it makes sense.
All right, anything else for public comment? Because the next item is adjourned. All right, I want to thank everybody, and there was a lot of good news. We're still on schedule, so I'm happy.
I'm happier.
All right, thanks for all the hard work. So I guess we could take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All right. Motion to adjourn, John,
Yes.
Lil,
Yes.
Matt,
yes.
Mike Dolan,
Yes.
Mark Lindy,
Yes.
Michael Loesch,
Yes.
and Harsh,
Yes.
and Pat.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Thank you.
You're hired.
Oh, no.
Good night, everyone.
Night.